The alerts that we sent out today in the room, and when it comes to short-term time frames, it's always a challenge, but there are opportunities to have trades that'll trigger during the early part of the morning. And the early part of the morning moves fast. Okay, so these are the two alerts we sent out this morning, as you can see here. So the first one was the crude oil buy. I'll talk more about that in the premium video tonight. But the second one was this Nasdaq 5-minute buy. So let's focus on it, right? Which is where the questions are coming from. How did you decide on that entry? And that entry was actually something that I was looking for a lot earlier. That was the second time, actually. Because the first time I was looking at about 50, I was looking between 50 and 75. And notice what happened. The market, the bell rang. Market headed higher. We got our high and low. You can see that marked right there. So our high was 72.19 1/4. Our low was 71.98 3/4. That means my breakout buy would be like 72.19 1/2 or 72.21 even. So that would be my breakout buy zone. By the way, had the market sold off, my short zone would have been, say, 71.98 1/2. Okay, that would have been fine. So I know where my breakout breakdown is, but I'm much more interested in the long side. We established our long bias, our buy bias early in the room. So I kind of turned blinders on to one side of the trade unless that setup is just too good to pass up. I'd rather go with the path of least resistance, and the focus that we've had for a good 2 weeks now has just been, even on the intraday, let's focus on the long side. And again, I think it's a whole lot easier to pick a side, have a directional bias than it is to try to, as I say, crank through the mental transmission of saying, I'm long now, I'm short now, I'm long. I mean, I think you're just going to end up churning yourself if you don't have a bias. Every single move is going to be an opportunity to get long or get short. If you have a bias, I think it gives you a certain amount of patience and tolerance for price movement, and it keeps you looking for very specific patterns and setups. I think it keeps you more focused. Regardless, what happened? I was looking for a long, however you want to slice it. So certainly in the most basic of ways, we had our clearing range breakout buy through here. Okay, so that wick at 10 minutes after 11 Eastern takes us up through 72.19 1/2, 72.21. That's our clearing range breakout breakdown. And I'm looking to get long, so that's fine. That's easy, right? And then we would add our hourly price movement ranges, and we talked about how 72.33 could be another upside target. But, it's not yesterday. One of the things that we did is we played the pullback buy. I said, look, we know the market's waiting on, yesterday it was waiting on the nuclear picnic between North Korea and the U.S. And today we're waiting on Jerome Powell. So what was one bit of news yesterday, now we have a different bit of news. So the market's probably not going to want to travel as far as it normally would had this thing not been looming over our heads. So when I look at the breakout that happened here, I know that the follow through could be pretty limited. So one of the best ways to compensate for the fact that there's going to be limited follow through is look for a correction. Wait for a correction. And that's exactly what we got. So do I have an uptrend here? It's not a great uptrend. What would make a great uptrend? A great uptrend would follow our formula of 3 to 5 grab candles plus 5 propulsion dots. I don't have that, but the grab candles I do have, which means I'm allowed to play a pullback at and into the wave. No EMAs in front of that. I'm not talking about a 13 or 21 EMA. They're not even lit up. They're not even visible. Thank you, propulsion dots, for keeping me from considering levels that would not be valid. So now it's all about the wave. Now it's all about the pullback. Another thing that we had working for us, and I love when we have this, is the major psychological level of 7,200. So all I did was position myself inside the wave and said, you know what, 7,200? Do your thing. Attract those bids. Let's stay above this level and then let's see how high is high. And that was really it. And you can always look, and I have the notes right here on the chart. When you have a clearing range at 9:30 to 10 a.m. Eastern set up that also has a trend in place like this one did, it gives you two choices. The clearing range breakout, breakdown, which did trigger, which absolutely did, or the trend follow. And because I have very limited upside expectations because of what's looming over the market's head, the pullback buy makes sense. And by the way, even without that, the pullback buy would make sense if the trend was in place in the morning. In this case, not a great example of one, so we wait for a deeper pullback. So you could do these things on any day, every time. Remember though, if the market has a lot of momentum, it may not come back and give you this opportunity. A lot of times we don't get the correction. The market just flies through this level and we never get this. But when we get it, I take it. All right. Hope that makes sense.